My word for this year has been harmony, and how serendipitous that Equilibria, a woman-owned wellness brand, focuses on bringing your mind and body back into harmony. Equilibria offers science-backed products that have helped over 200,000 women feel better. My go-to product is a daily Nutri-Greens, which contains an immune antioxidant and detox blend, along with prebiotics, probiotics, and over 35 fruits and veggies. They support digestion, boost the immune system, boost mood and energy levels, and helps detoxify the body. Admittedly, I'm not the best at reaching my recommended quota of veggies every day, but the daily Nutri-Greens makes it so much easier to reach that goal. Plus, it tastes great, and I feel an immediate energy boost after. This is my travel hack of the year, which is taking daily Nutri-Greens on the road with me so I can get my daily dose of greens even if I'm not home. Now, for our Dateable listeners only, head to myeq.com and use the code DATEABLE for 15% off Equilibria's daily Nutri-Greens and much more. That's myeq.com and use the code DATEABLE at checkout for 15% off site-wide today.
Did you know that an estimated 5 billion plastic hand soap and cleaning bottles are thrown away each year? That is such a lose-lose situation for you and the planet. Blueland is on a mission to eliminate single-use plastic by reinventing cleaning essentials to be better for you and the planet with the same powerful clean you're used to. They offer refillable cleaning products with a beautiful, cohesive design that looks great on your counters. You'll never have to grab bulky cleaning supplies on your grocery run again. I seriously love all the products, from the cleaning sprays to hand soap, toilet bowl cleaner, and laundry tablets. The other day, my cleaner Lou, shout out as I know he listens, even commented on how good these products work. So professional house cleaner approved too. Blueland has a special offer for listeners. Right now, get 15% off your first order by going to blueland.com/dateable. You don't want to miss this. blueland.com/dateable for 15% off. That's blueland.com/dateable to get 15% off.
Hi, I'm Yue Xu.
And I'm Julie Kraftchick.
We're active daters turned dating sociologists.
Here to dive into everything modern dating and relationships.
Welcome to the Dateable Podcast. Hello, friends.
Welcome back to the first episode of the off season.
See, we never go away.
Never.
I told you. We are consistent. We are persistent. We are always there for you. We are the perfect partner. Even when we're off, we're on.
Just date us instead. There we go.
This is why we're dateable. We never go away.
I don't know if that's the message we want to be sending. Consistency is different than never go away.
Even when we say we're going away, we never go away.
Don't do that, friends.
But if you are new to our off season, this is how we operate in the off season. We still bring you fresh intros. Like, this is real and fresh, updated intros. Then sometimes we'll bring you episodes that we've been on with other podcasts. Sometimes we'll bring back some older episodes, and then we'll do some like newer episodes, just the two of us. It's a mix of a lot of different types of content that you don't normally see in a normal season. But for this one, drum roll. This is a good one, because if you've been living under a rock, which I admittedly had not seen this until 24 hours before this recording, there is an Ashley Madison documentary. And Yue, as soon as you saw it, you were like, we need to re-air our Ashley Madison episode that we did. I also realized that for some of you, you've never heard of Ashley Madison because they've been out of the media spotlight for a while. But it is a site for people to go to have affairs. It was geared towards it's still around. So I'm going to
still around, yeah.
Present terms, they are still around. They are geared towards people, mostly married people, who want to have affairs, and their slogan is "Life is short, have an affair."
We actually did the episode with them. I pulled it up to reconfirm, October 1st, 2019.
Oh, we're so ahead of our time.
Yeah, but at the same time, they had this massive data breach, which is what got them so much attention. And that was what this whole documentary was based on. And that was years before 2019. We kind of caught them in their like next wave rebound.
That's true. And this data breach leaked a lot of people's names. And I don't know why you would do this, but a lot of people use their real names and real work emails to sign up for the site. So when the data got leaked, a lot of major politicians, celebrities, notable figures were leaked as people who were seeking out affairs.
Well, the whole sell of Ashley Madison was that you could be anonymous.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And there was this promise at the core of it of discretion, and they failed at that ultimately.
And if you haven't seen the 3-part series on Netflix, it's all like the promise they give for discretion and privacy is sort of it's BS, right? It's just to make you feel good. But they didn't really go through all the measures that they should take to protect your data.
I mean, this whole thing is fascinating because you could argue, and I'm not saying that this is ethically right, but it's like a lot of sites have data breaches. Like this is something that just happens on the internet. Of course, that data isn't maybe as sensitive as this one. I'm curious, like your thoughts, because it kind of just like brought up like how ethical is this business in general? Because like in the first part of the series, you hear from the founder and he's just like, look, this is a need that people have. I'm just here to fulfill the need. If they're going to cheat, they're going to cheat. I'm here to make it easier. And it's a business model. But I don't know if it's because of the leak or just like, what's your take on the ethics here?
I think even in the series, there are people interviewed, one couple that I can think of, where the guy was like, I've been thinking about what it would be like to have extramarital affairs. And now here is a service that can provide that. Like, I think people have these thoughts. They don't know where to go, but this does make it extra easy for them and geared towards them. So I think it's like enabling an alcoholic. That's what it feels like. You've basically put everything on the counter for them and just make it super easy.
But it's almost worse because like at least that's the person that wants it. Again, of course, I don't mean to say that like addiction people want it. I know there's a lot of layers here, but what I'm trying to say is that this is like yes, it is the person that wants the affair, but it's also directly impacting their spouse who does not sign up for this at all. So I think there's like an ethics bit on that to me. It's like, yeah, the person wants it, but you're like, know that you're enabling harmful behavior to someone else.
You know what? That is the part that triggers me, is that it's the betrayal part.
Yeah.
Because if this was a site like Field, where it's, couples exploring their sexuality and maybe opening up their relationship, both people consent to it, awesome. And there are people like that on Ashley Madison. We've talked to them too. But it's the betrayal part where it's like, don't use your photos, don't give your real name, and then meet in a discreet area and do it while your wife is out. That is the part I don't agree with for the service, and that's what they're enabling.
I mean, it's hard because there was this woman on the documentary that was just like, I hate this site, it ruined my life, caused my partner to cheat. And I'm like, I don't know if I would go that far too, because let's be honest, if someone really wants to do it, they're going to find a way. Yes, it makes it easier. Yes, it maybe puts the idea in their head a little more. So it's not like completely innocent by any means. But I don't know if you would go so far to say like, this is what ruined my marriage. Someone still needs to take the actions.
Oh, absolutely. I think about my ex cheating and how he did not use Ashley Madison.
He didn't need it.
He didn't need it. He'd met someone in person and everything was carried through over text. You don't need a service to do it. But the other woman didn't sign up for it because she didn't know that he was in a relationship. I think, I guess some people would argue, well, if you're on the site, you know that all these people are in relationships. So that makes it okay.
Well, but then there was this whole bit about the fake profiles. That part.
Oh my God.
That part was real bad because I think there's an ethics. Like, we've heard this with dating apps too, right? Is that they have fake profiles to draw you in. And even that, in my opinion, is unethical. But they were actually bots messaging. And
Yeah.
all of the payment is based on messages. So now it's like totally kind of misleading. And there's like a revenue uptick from it that they correlated. Like that to me was very unethical.
It's such bullshit. Because I remember them going on all sorts of news outlets saying stuff like, oh, there are more women on the site, more women cheat than ever before, and they just don't admit to it. And I thought, well, wow, really? Women are using this? And then it really occurred to me while watching this documentary. It's like, if women are going to cheat, they're not going to use Ashley Madison. Let's just be real here. Okay, we're a little smarter when it comes to that shit. Like the women on this site, like all the fake profiles, now it all makes sense.
Although that being said, we did have some women we talked to on this episode. So I wouldn't say every woman. I think too, like there is something that makes it easier still in the comfort of your own home versus like having to go out all the time. Like, yes, you could get caught using your computer or phone, but if you're always leaving the house to go to bars or wherever else you'd meet people, and maybe not everyone has that ability. Like if you have like children in the house, like that's what we learned from talking to the people. And I think honestly, this episode we did, even post scandal, was so eye-opening because it was like the real story of these people.
Yes. And you get to hear the why.
Yeah.
Always very curious to hear the why. Do you think there are people who use Ashley Madison just for the validation and attention?
Absolutely.
And never actually act on anything? I think a lot of people probably do that.
Well, they talked about that too, about just like how kind of terrible this leak was because there were lists of people's names and emails. And again, you could argue, like, why'd you use your real name or email?
Yeah.
But there was like one guy that was like, I went on 3 lunch dates, or like, I never actually met anyone. And then they have to like confront their families of like, why are you on this? People were losing jobs. People were hurting themselves, like suicide. That was crazy. There was like that pastor story. That was nuts.
Yep, it ruined a lot of people's lives. But it is this like dark demon that people are hiding. And now it's out in the open. It's like, I can't imagine if you sign up for the site just to browse, you're just window shopping, like not really wanting to act on anything. And I do think a lot of people are just like, okay, I need a little validation.
Yeah.
I need a little attention. We have 4 kids running around. I just need like something to get me off and something to fantasize about. And I can see them signing up for this just to create more fantasies in their head. Although I don't know how I feel about that either. Like, yes, you didn't do anything, but it's still emotional cheating.
It's
right?
still weird. And I do, I guess, maybe appreciate that people would go to Ashley Madison over like Tinder because at least like presumably the other people on the site know what they're getting into. It's almost worse if someone's just married and wants validation on Tinder where people are actually trying to look for people. Like I had a story of a friend that, like caught her partner doing like webcam stuff. And while it wasn't like actually cheating per se, it's still, I mean, they broke up. They're not together anymore. But it's like there was that level of betrayal, even though it was for validation, really.
Yeah. I mean, that's the part. It's like the validation part. Is it worth it to go to this extreme? I don't know. It's like people need an outlet, I guess. Or is that a sign that you should address something in your relationship?
Oh, 100% a sign. Or, people were talking about this too in the documentary. And I agree. In today's world where open relationships are a thing, at least it's an ethical way. Like, say what you want about open relationships. What I like about them is there's no betrayal. It's open.
Yeah. Well, both people subscribe to it.
Exactly.
But this is like, it's all in the dark and you don't know. Tell me what you think about this. Okay, so someone told me about a friend of mine who he saw on sugarbabies.com.
Okay.
And he's like, is this your friend? And so then it kind of, to me, I was like, okay, why is she on this? But also, why are you on this? But he was like, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I just think, like, has she told you that she's been doing this? I'm like, no, she hasn't told me. But he's like, well, it's a very transactional site. Like, this is just one of those things. So to me, it's like, could Ashley Madison, because someone positioned Ashley Madison as something similar. It's a transactional site. That's their business. This is just a transaction they're doing.
I mean, Yes, I guess like in the one that you just mentioned with the sugar babies or sugar
Mhm.
daddies, whatever it
I
is,
think it's sugarbabies.com. One
sugarbabies.com.
or the other.
At
Yeah.
least,
Yeah.
at le-
Sugarcousins.com. I don't know.
sugar something. It's all the same. At least there's not a betrayal of someone else in that.
Well, she's
Okay,
in a
maybe
relationship.
there
Yeah.
was a betrayal.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
take that
Yeah,
back.
she's
Take
in
that
it.
back.
She's in a relationship, but yeah, I don't know. But then he would argue, well, she's in a relationship, but then it's like a porn star.
Yeah.
You know, they could be in a relationship, but then their work, how they get money is
Again, maybe it's like if
Yeah.
you've had that discussion with your partner, like a porn star would probably discuss that, right? It wouldn't be like the
Yeah.
secret that I think it's the secrecy.
Yeah.
But it was interesting because like the reason why Ashley Madison is still here today is because like they went to the FTC, which is like basically the kiss of death for any businesses, like against, ethical business practices. But unless I found it so fascinating, if you wanted to sue, you had to show your identity. And the question was like to your, I guess, related to what you were just saying, like, do even people that are doing like this act that's considered wrong still have the right to their privacy?
Right.
And I think they do. Like, I mean,
They do.
They do.
Yes.
It's not right to the people they're harming. It's all there. There's so many parts, but at the end of the day, I guess if people are going to do what they want to do.
Right. They're going to do what they want to do, and they paid to have their identities protected to do the thing that they want to do.
Well, that's the part that was messed up. But, the documentary ended with people, using the site current day. We're obviously talking to people on this episode that use the site current day. So they built back that trust. They removed the bots. People's comments were like, breaches happen, and they're probably more private now because of what happened.
Yeah. Well, it put Ashley Madison back on the map.
Yeah.
Well,
that's what they were saying. Like so
great
much press.
promo for them.
But it's wild. I watched the whole thing and I don't know. It's like they're like 30 to 40 minutes each.
Yeah, they're short.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's great. It's good.
Really good.
It's really well done. Like the couple, that Christian couple blows my mind.
Yeah. So watch
we won't give
yourself,
it away,
but if you want the real scoop, that's why we're re-airing this episode, because I think when we left this episode too, like I kind of felt sad.
Yeah.
You want to hate people that are cheating because it's just like such a bad thing by society. But I kind of left, I remember being like, ooh, this is rough.
My takeaway is just people do not have a way to they don't know how to express themselves. They don't have a way to show what they need and express their needs. So then there's other outlets that they're trying to express themselves.
Yeah. So whether you're looking for just, I don't know, some juicy stuff to listen to, or you want to see, like, have compassion maybe for the people that are in this position, or what I took away from it was like things I don't want to happen in my marriage someday, not just the cheating, but all the stuff leading up to the cheating, because so many people just did not feel seen and heard.
Yes. That's so true. Or if you're going through something similar, like maybe you're thinking about cheating or what it feel like to cheat, this is also a very enlightening episode.
Yeah.
Because you're not alone. I mean, it's a thought that crosses many people's minds. And how do you process it? I think the thought of cheating is not wrong. I think it's like curiosity for other people. But it's what you do with that thought that you got to pause and really think about it.
Do you think anything has changed for you now that you've been through this experience yourself, watching this and then hearing the episode, all of this?
I do think that if I am with someone I really love and there are certain things in our relationship that I cannot satisfy for that person, right? There's certain like maybe kinks or anything sexual that I am unable or unwilling, then I think it is okay. Like I call it outsourcing. I don't want to sacrifice myself to satisfy these needs, but I also don't want my partner to sacrifice. So that's where I'm more open about like if it's the act of something that I am unwilling or unable to do.
But you'd want them to be transparent to you.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
I think that's, to me, at the essence, it's the betrayal of it all.
Yes. I rather hear radical honesty.
Yeah.
Listen, I found this person really attractive. I fantasize about them sometimes. Whatever. Like, yes, that would hurt for me to hear. It would hurt my fucking ego, but I'd much rather hear that than someone doing something behind my back.
Yeah. It's also hard. It's like I want to feel like I would feel the same way. Like I actually had this in a past relationship come out, and I was kind of on the same camp as you of like, if that's something that you would feel like you need to get that need met, there could be transparency that you get it elsewhere. But I also didn't really go through the experience. I don't know.
Oh, I know. Exactly.
Being in it, like, would I be okay with them, like, doing whatever?
Exactly.
Sometimes kinks, though, aren't even like actually like sexual, like intercourse.
Yes.
There's a lot that goes into it.
Absolutely. I think about our diaper fetish guy all the time. I'll put on a diaper if that's what my partner wants, but if he even wants it all the time, like he just wants to watch someone walk around in a diaper like 24/7, I am not willing to go through diaper rash for that. That's not worth it.
But if he went to like a diaper sex party, let's say once a month he goes to a diaper sex party without you. What do you think of that?
I think I'd be okay with that because I don't want to do that. I'd probably go with him the first couple times just see what's going on.
Yeah.
But that's not something I want to do then, or we hire someone to walk around in a diaper like once a week. I don't know. I'm sure people can offer that on TaskRabbit.
They should set up a new category.
TaskRabbit After Dark.
There's a business model there. Okay, well, we could debate this all day, but we're going to leave the good stuff. Tell us what you think in the comments on Spotify. It's a good transition to announcements.
Thank you for saving us.
On Spotify, you can leave episode comments. Tell us your thoughts. This is a juicy one. There's so much here. Good. Everyone has an opinion about cheating. Let's hear it. Let's hear it. If you watch a documentary, tell us your thoughts. If you didn't, go watch it, or even just tell us your thoughts from listening to the episode. So much to unpack. And while you're at it, leave us a rating and review. On Spotify, they like to hide that rating under the 3 dots. But if you need help, feel free to DM us, or now you know where it is.
That's a life lesson. Always click on the 3 dots.
Always click on the 3 dots. There's something there. And then in Apple, you can leave us your brunch talk question. You can just tell us what's going well for you. I want to give a shout out to Emily while we're thinking about it. A few weeks ago, I shared that a mystery woman came by while I was at Beta Breakers, and she just, as I was like eating with my partner, she's like, love the podcast, and kept walking on her Beta Breakers. And she DM'd us on Instagram, and she shared, she was like, sorry I didn't stop. And I'm like, all good. You got to do
She revealed herself.
She revealed herself, but she also told us she's been listening for a little over a year, and she's with a great partner now who she was with that day. And she just had so much love and appreciation for all we do at Dateable. And it really warmed our hearts. And glad that you're still listening, because this stuff doesn't stop once you're in a relationship.
No, that was my major takeaway. Wow, she's in a healthy relationship and still listening to Dateable. Thank you.
You got to. And we had the truth about relationships a few weeks ago. So we are throwing in that relationship content as well. Okay. Another fun announcement. As you know, we brought back the Meeting People IRL Masterclass for the entirety of summer. And we are excited to do a little quick flash promo around the July 4th holiday for all the Americans out there. And if you're not American, you can still enjoy the promo. So we're going to be giving $10 off of the masterclass, which makes it $59 quite affordable to just get out there.
Yeah, celebrate Merca. And the code to get that discount is Dateable. Dateable. Easy.
Easy. So go to dateablepodcast.com/programs. You can hit the link in bio. It's all there. And it's also in the show notes. So we try to make it as easy as possible for you to get there. But of course, any issues, you can always DM us.
Yes.
Okay. Well, before we get into it, let's hear a quick message from our sponsors. I am so excited to talk about our partner, Osea. You've probably heard me raving about this product, but I seriously cannot get enough. Feels like I'm having a spa day in my home every time I use their Undaria algae body oil. I love how it visibly firms my skin and leaves it feeling silky, soft, and unbelievably glowing. And it's the smell too. It just makes me feel like I'm at the spa because it smells like summer, bottled with all natural, uplifting notes of mango, mandarin, grapefruit, lime, and cypress. I also love that with Osea, I never have to choose between my values and my best skin because it's all vegan and cruelty free, and also mother and daughter founded. Get healthy, glowing skin for summer with clean vegan skin and body care from Osea. Get 10% off your first order site-wide with code DATEABLE at OseaMalibu.com. You'll get free samples with every order and free shipping for orders over $60. Head to OSEAMalibu.com and use the code DATEABLE for 10% off.
Yay, it's summer, my favorite season. And you know what can make summer even better? Via hemp products. Need to chill out after a long day in the sun? There's a Via gummy for that. Dealing with anxiety or stress with summer travels? There's a gummy for that. Want to set the mood in the bedroom? There's a gummy for that. And that is actually my favorite gummy from Via. I'm talking about their best-selling High Love Gummy, a unique blend of pleasure-enhancing cannabinoids, libido-strengthening herbs, and a medium dose of THC all into one mind-blowing gummy that will awaken your senses, increase blood flow, and intensify any sexual experience. I know it's meant for sexy time, but here's a little trick for you. I actually just love taking it for some of my longer walks. It makes all my surroundings look, smell, and feel so nice. And if THC is not your thing, Via also offers a wide array of THC-free gummies. Whatever you want to be in the mood for, Via has something for you. If you're over 21 years of age, you can get 15% off plus a free pack of award-winning gummies with our exclusive code DATEABLE at viahemp.com. That's spelled VIIAHEMP.com. And don't forget to use the code DATEABLE to get 15% off and a free pack of their award-winning gummies.
Okay, let's hear all about people's stories with Ashley Madison.
The people at Ashley Madison have agreed to talk about, one, the product and their site, and also referred us to some of their members on why they use the site and how they've used it and what has been the outcome. So this episode is dedicated to cheating and Ashley Madison. First, we spoke to Paul Keeble, the Chief Strategy Officer at Ashley Madison, to just get a general idea of what the product is and why people use it. So, Paul, tell us a little bit about Ashley Madison for anyone who may be unfamiliar with the site.
Ashley Madison is a site for married people to have affairs outside of their primary relationship. And we've had more than 60 million people join the site since we launched in 2002. So we have both a mobile website as well as the mobile apps. Primarily, people tend to use the mobile website because having an app on your phone leaves a little bit of digital lipstick, which is something we try to avoid as much as possible.
I was going to ask that because I feel like normally apps are more popular, but in this case, I could totally see why you'd want to go back and like log in somewhere.
Yeah. Digital lipstick. I haven't heard that before. That sounds very risque. So as a chief strategy officer, I'm just guessing that a lot of your work is kind of demystifying affairs and cheating and removing the stigma around having an affair, because on your website and all of your messaging, it's always about two consenting adults. So what are some like the major challenges that you currently face?
So you're right. The bulk of my work is really trying to talk to people like yourselves and to your audience and try to help them understand really what is happening in the world of infidelity. You know, my job isn't to go out and try to convince a happily married person to have an affair, because no 30-second commercial or an amazing interview on the best podcast out there is going to do that. But before you make a judgment based on what, Hollywood has told us that what infidelity is or what your religion has said, let's look at the data. And because we have data that no one else has, we can really talk about it. And one of the biggest myths out there is that, it's only men cheating and they're just a bunch of horny married guys looking to cheat on their wives. Whereas there's equal amounts of women on the site, and they are in fact the ones who are cheating for sex. More so than not, men are cheating for emotional reasons.
Interesting.
Oh, I would have thought the opposite.
Yeah,
for sure.
Why is that the case?
Well, we had some work done recently with Dr. Alicia Walker out of the University of Missouri, and she focused her first study on why do women cheat. And what she found was that the majority of women that she interviewed, who were all Ashley Madison members, were either in sexless or orgasmless marriages. They were otherwise happy and or content with their spouse, so they weren't looking for a divorce or otherwise unhappy within their marriage, but they were not willing to live a life, with this one particular void. So they sought to outsource their sex life via Ashley Madison, looking for primarily physical relationships that would fulfill that either sexless or orgasmless gap they were experiencing.
So as someone who works at Ashley Madison, I'm sure it's a little hard to separate your professional and personal life. What does your wife think about you working for Ashley Madison?
It's a great question. There's a bit of an odd side benefit to working at Ashley Madison, as well as being the #1 married dating website in the world. We're also, in essence, the best or the biggest marriage counseling service in the world. Because if you don't want your spouse to come to Ashley Madison, it's probably best to listen to why do people show up here so you can help avoid that. So I get to learn why all the different men and women come to Ashley Madison and hopefully learn a little bit about that and take that into my relationship to ensure that both of us have open communication, dialogue, and so there is no unmet need.
So it seems like privacy and discretion are obviously big parts of Ashley Madison and why you would use a site like this over, say, like Tinder, where anyone can kind of see you on the site. I know a couple years ago, back in 2015, there was a scandal with Ashley Madison that some data was leaked through a hacking and exposing married cheaters kind of all over the world. How has Ashley Madison kind of come back from that, and what other ways are you guys taking precautions to keep that privacy?
Obviously we had to take time and look at, what did we want to be as a company? Who did we want to be coming out of those events? Despite all the negative aspects of what occurred, we still had a core group of people who were coming to our website on a daily basis. Right now it's more than 20,000 people a day. But what we had to do to earn their trust back, rebuild the framework, was start from the beginning. What does security and privacy look like? Those are two different things. I like to tell people it's a bit of a Sisyphean task if you're into Greek mythology, because security is not something that you hit a checkbox and it's done. It's something we have to approach every day. So we have new technologies. We have a whole new security team. We also have the belief now that security is part and parcel of everyone's job here, from who's coming in the front door to who do we let have a profile on our membership. So I can't obviously give you the whole blueprint. What I can say is that we take it far more serious, and we have the right people in the right places to ensure that our members are getting what they want when they come to our site.
Right. And then what are some of the ways the site is built to ensure privacy when you're using it?
So obviously, with discretion being core to our experience, members have complete control over who they share their profile with, what images and what communications they have with them. So we have obviously what we call public photos. That might be your standard profile photo, but you can blur that, use lace masks to obscure, who you are. But on top of that, we have private showcase photos where you can put images that are going to be more personal to you that you might want to share with someone as you sort of build a rapport. And what we allow members to do is share those images via private key. And when they're finished, having conversations with that person, whether it moves on to the next stage or not, you can remove that key and take your photos back from the individual. And that allows a lot of personalization and control over the experience both men and women have at Ashley Madison.
For a company where the tagline is "Life is short, have an affair," how do you navigate the criticism regarding the subject of morality? I think some people would argue, aren't you promoting affairs and infidelity when people could avoid that and just go to counseling before they have an affair?
Well, I think that's a naive sort of viewpoint. As I sort of said earlier, we couldn't go out and convince someone to have an affair if they're in a happy marriage. That's not really what's occurring here. What we're trying to do is tell people, look, this is going to happen whether Ashley Madison exists or not, because I am fairly sure there were affairs prior to our existence. And if for whatever reason we were no longer to be around, it would still occur without us. But what we do know is that affairs can have negative consequences beyond just the implications to your immediate family. We saw the CEO of Intel was forced to step down from his job because he had a workplace affair years prior to being promoted. And while it was two consenting adults having that affair, the company was so scared of the implications of that, they forced him to step down. So we know that workplace affairs are not safe for work. Having an affair traditionally there is where it's been our biggest competitor, or sometimes with your neighbors or maybe a family member, sister-in-law, brother-in-law. And these all risk far more than having an affair with an anonymous married person who's outside of your social work spaces. And so that's really what we're doing. If you're going to have an affair, do it better, have a successful affair, and don't get caught with Ashley Madison.
And here's a funny conversation we had over the weekend. We were telling a friend of ours that we were going to interview people from Ashley Madison, and she's like, Ashley Madison exists? She's an actual person. And we're like, no, it's people who work for the company Ashley Madison. So I guess that brings up the question, where did the name come from? Why Ashley Madison?
No, it's a really good question. I think the founders were also under a few of the myths that people had about infidelity when they went about making the business, because in their own heads, they felt, we have to make this super female friendly in order to attract women to the site. Otherwise, we're not sure they're going to come here, because they were a bit under the belief that maybe women don't cheat as much as men. And so what they did is they chose two of the most popular baby names, 2001, which Ashley and Madison were two of them. And that became our branding.
I wonder if there is someone else. I mean, I'm sure there's an Ashley Madison out there.
Yeah.
Probably a ton of them.
I'm sure,
hundreds of Ashley Madisons.
I'm sure they get teased a lot. Another question for you about just like the site overall. It's like people have like usernames. Like how do they kind of like remain like anonymous while being on the site, or do they just use their real names?
Yeah, so the most part, people use usernames so they can obscure their identities and, not reveal it to their potential affair partner until they've sort of vetted them in a way that says, we both have the same likes. We're here for the same reasons. Our timetables and schedules sort of meet up. And so, you'll have all sorts of really unique usernames. People will do all sorts of different ways to communicate and help them stand out within the platform to ensure that when people are browsing in their city, that they, look like a promising affair partner.
Got it. And I assume people aren't doing like Facebook Connect or like some of the ways that people
no,
are.
So unlike a lot of different dating sites and a lot of different social platforms,
look at my Instagram.
We don't connect to any social properties. You're not going to be sharing your profile. And we do not sell any of our members' information to third parties. There's no advertising on the Ashley Madison platform. So, what you're getting is a really clean experience and allow you to focus on finding that potential partner.
That's so fascinating because it's so opposite from any dating site where you know almost too much about someone. You can like just Google them. But on Ashley Madison, you actually can't. Which brings up the question has there ever been an occurrence where someone ended up chatting with their actual spouse?
I've had that asked to me a lot of times over the years. I've never heard of that instance happening. I'm sure it's a remote possibility, but, through the vetting process, most people would probably, either get one or the other would get alerted to maybe there's an issue here and they would step away. I have had people who've met and ended up becoming married via their relationship at Ashley Madison.
Yeah, we're talking to one of them later.
Yes.
A couple like
That's
that
amazing.
later. From working there all these years, what's kind of like the one thing that you've learned along the way or has surprised you?
I was also under the belief that, men were going out to have sex for the purposes of sex. And so I found it really surprising that, women were, looking for very specific physical interactions with no emotional connections, complete opposite of what my belief was. And then just the diversity of people that show up at a place like Ashley Madison. I have had very high-ranking politicians, spouses show up on the site, and I've heard their stories. I've had people from all ranges of socioeconomic levels on the site, and their experiences, in the beginning, it shocked me because they were so different from what I've come to understand or believe. Now it doesn't surprise me, but it's vastly interesting every day to hear the stories from our members.
Yeah, I think it just goes into the fact that there is no one image of someone who has affairs or cheats, because it could be anybody.
Right.
They come in all shapes and colors and sizes and all that.
Absolutely.
Then we spoke to Isabella Mais, the Director of Member Relations, who's collected lots of data on why people are on the site, how they're using it, and why they're using it. So what types of people join Ashley Madison?
Our core business offering really is discretion. So that bright light of discretion really does attract a wide range of individuals. But I would say primarily, we are a married dating site. So it is typically our core constituency is, married person seeking another married. That being said, we obviously attract, different types. So we do have singles on our site and they're looking for more of a casual setup, which is why they're looking for married people to date. There's not that expectation of something more. And then lastly, we have people who are looking for more open-minded dating experiences. So polyamory and that type of thing. So we actually have couples on the site together who are in an open relationship.
And what is kind of like the split of like singles versus married people?
I would say, again, we are primarily married dating. The majority of our members do fall into that category. And I would say age range is usually around 30 to 45 is where I see the biggest membership. rate, especially who I talk to. So they are people that have lived a life. They are people that have realized that life is not the fairy tale they were sold. Marriage is not that fairy tale story. So they are looking for something very different than they were looking for earlier in their life. So let's say in their 20s, where they sort of believed in that grand ambition of love still.
It's interesting you say that the majority are people who are in monogamous marriages and some are polyamorous. What would be the percentage makeup of the people who are in non-monogamous marriages?
Difficult to say an exact percentage because, it's changing every day. But I would, again, say it's not the majority. We're a married dating site, first and foremost. But that said, people come on and off our site, and they come on and off at different life stages. So we might have someone that's come on while they're still married. And then a year in, maybe they've opened up their marriage, or maybe their partner knows now, or maybe they're now going through a separation. And so people come on and off, again, through those different life stages. But each step of the way, they are just looking for that discretion piece. And I think also to find someone that is like-minded, right? So we say all the time, we're probably one of the most honest, dating websites out there, which seems funny because we are an infidelity website. But really the people that come to our site are so transparent from the get-go about what their situation is, what they want. There's no false pretenses is what draws people to our platform.
And then what's the split like men and women?
So when I first started here 2 years ago, one of the first things we actually did was we brought Ernst & Young in to do a full audit of our membership, specifically because a lot of people didn't think there were much women cheating, right? Didn't think there was as much women on the site. And so we, again, in an effort to shine a light on the reality of infidelity, we wanted to really dispel that myth and show what was really happening. So Ernst & Young came in, and in their report, they revealed that we had a pretty balanced gender ratio, 1.13 active females for every one active paid male.
So more women than men.
And that surprises people. And, I'm obviously a woman myself, and I'm in my 30s. And so I have not entered into marriage yet, but I think I definitely had some preconceived notions when starting this job. And I just thought men primarily cheated and women were primarily the ones getting cheated on. I've certainly come a long way in opening my eyes to the reality. And, we have women on here, and they're very, very direct about wanting sex, and they're very pragmatic in their approach of vetting sexual partners. Quite frankly, they report very little guilt for what they're doing. They feel entitled to having their sexual needs met.
I was having a conversation years ago in New York with a girlfriend of mine who was cheating on her husband at the time. And I said to her, it's very rare for me to meet a woman who cheats. And she's like, no. It's not that more men cheat. It's that less women get caught cheating.
Yeah. There's certainly stat out there that by Esther Perel, who's a very well-known Belgian psychotherapist who's focused on infidelity. And she said that rates of female infidelity have gone up by 40% since the early 90s, whereas rates of male infidelity have remained relatively static. And I don't know that it's more women, like you said, are actually cheating, but I think more women are coming forward now and actually speaking about it, because I just think there's a lot less consequences. So when you say, women are just better at concealing it, I think because historically women have just faced a lot more consequences for having an affair. Their kids could have been taken away from them. They were financially dependent on their spouse. Whereas now, obviously women are much more active in the workforce, and there's just a lot less consequences they're up against. And I think that's why you're seeing more women not only, cheat, but forward about it, talk about it openly, about stepping outside their marriage. It's very interesting to see.
And the way that society sees a woman who cheats versus a man who cheats is so different. If a guy cheats on his wife, you would think, oh, of course he would. Even if he's married to Halle Berry, he's going to cheat because he wants something new. But if a woman cheats on her husband, people would think, oh, he must not treat her very well. She must be lacking something in that relationship. So we have kind of a double standard when it comes to cheating.
That is so true. What about sexual orientation?
So there is obviously an option, male seeking male, female seeking female on our site. Again, I wouldn't say it's our core constituency, but there's definitely, that portion of our membership on the site active. All types. A lot of people say like what occupations are more likely to cheat, religion, places around the world. We just released our top city list. It's not just people in big cities cheating. It's not just people in suburbs cheating. I think there's not one place that's immune to it. Cheating is a universal behavior. It's existed before our platform came to be, and it'll be around long after we're gone. It's just something that's one of those universal behaviors. And I think as, we become more open to talking about monogamy and the challenge that exists within monogamy, I think you're going to see a lot more people moving forward designing their own rules around marriage and what monogamy means to them.
But with that said, and I've been thinking about this for a while, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it feels like the membership base, what draws people to Ashley Madison, the excitement of cheating. It's the blurred profiles. It's not knowing who the other person is. It's also doing something that is kind of like not, kind of morally not right for some people, and they find that exciting. So as a society, and we see in some of the bigger cities where there's so many different configurations of non-monogamy, when these relationships really take off and as these numbers increase, do you think that's a threat to the Ashley Madison membership base because it makes cheating no longer that exciting?
No, I don't see it that way. Because again, we have a lot of open couples on our site, and even with them, they're still so concerned about discretion and keeping it between them only, because I just don't know that we're there yet. I think there's a fear of judgment. So they don't even tell their best friends that they're in an open relationship. There's still a bit of a taboo around it. It's taboo. So I think people come for discretion, and I think there is still going to be value in discretion, even if there is more of a shift toward consensual non-monogamy.
I could also see like it being a place where others were looking to date you. Like if you go on Tinder and you're in a marriage or you're in a serious relationship, there might be people on there that aren't interested in that because they just want to meet someone else that's unattached. So if they come here, kind of by default, they're open.
Right.
If you're a married person going on a singles dating website, that invites a lot of potential problems. But again, you can just be who you are here. And it's a lot, I think people feel a lot more comfortable with that. And they know, lastly, that they're going to meet like-minded people. So people that are looking for the same type of thing that they're looking for.
As someone single that isn't married right now, how has working at Ashley Madison kind of adapted your views on marriage?
I also get that question quite a bit, and it's really interesting because I didn't know what to expect when I took this job, and obviously all of these types of things crossed my mind. In an interesting turn of events, I think it's made me more optimistic about marriage.
Interesting.
I think the reason for that is I get to speak to people every day and hear their pain points or hear where maybe things didn't work out a certain way and, kind of those challenges that they encounter. So I feel like I have a much more realistic viewpoint about marriage and monogamy. And I think I have a lot of really helpful lessons I've almost learned from other people just who have already experienced that. I have a better sense of what a successful marriage could look like. And I feel more empowered to design a monogamy agreement that works for me and my partner when I do decide to get married one day.
That kind of makes sense because we interviewed someone who was a divorce lawyer.
Yeah.
And he told us that through all these cases, he learned how to have a successful marriage.
Right.
So it kind of makes sense to see some like having the data points of what makes a marriage work. We're just playing around with a couple scenarios. Just quick question for you. Through all the data you gathered, has there ever been a scenario, I'm sure there has actually, but people ended up chatting with someone they already knew, like a neighbor or their kid's teacher?
So I don't have any specific example I could point to based on my experience here. Not to say that hasn't happened. I just couldn't really point to a specific example.
And then what about, do you have any data around what percentage of people end up getting divorced or splitting up from their spouse?
Unfortunately, we don't. There's really no way of us being able to get that type of information. Anecdotally, I've spoken to members who have chosen to end their marriage after spending some time on our site. But there's a lot of people that use our site and it supplements their marriage in a really positive way. And they will report that it's actually helps them stay married.
I guess is just there one thing that's kind of surprised you over your time working here?
The number one thing that surprised me is people who are happily married step outside of marriage. Before, I only thought people who were unhappy in their marriage or looking to exit their marriage would have an affair. But it's actually people who consider themselves happily married and want to stay with their partner.
Fascinating.
Very
Can't wait to
fascinating.
talk to someone like that. So why do people cheat? What is the science behind cheating? That's why we spoke to Dr. Tammy, a certified sex therapist and a licensed couples therapist, and the author of several books, including The New Monogamy and Why You're the One Who Cheats. We are very fascinated by this whole conversation about cheating and infidelity. Why do you think people cheat?
It's such a broad question. Like, I think there's so many reasons that people cheat. I kind of put them into a couple different categories. One, I think people cheat for what I call can opener affairs, which are a way to get out of a marriage or a committed partnership. So a can opener is sort of like, I really don't want to be married. I really don't want to be in this relationship, but I don't know how to get out. And so an affair seems a good way to blow the whole thing up.
Do you find that with people that are like have children or some other obligation more than ones that don't?
I find women do it more than men. They sometimes do it before they even know they want out. So they're cheating and it's kind of like swinging from branch to branch. They're like, oh, maybe I do want out. I just didn't even know how to say it. And now that I'm in an affair, I realize I really think my marriage is over. It's also sometimes a way to make the other person break up with them.
So that's a can opener. What's the other category?
The next one is really the wake up or breakup affair. Like, this could be the wake up call that we really need to say, how the heck did we get here? And, you know, I've had couples in my practice as a therapist that have said, this affair could be the best thing that ever happened to us. So that's kind of like the wake up, we're headed for trouble. Our marriage has been asleep. Our relationship wasn't going in a good direction. And now we have a chance to rewrite the whole history of our marriage practically by defining it in a different way. You know, sometimes you need kind of a big catastrophe or a crisis to say, do we really want to be together? And if we do, we have to create a whole new marriage because this is not working. I think it can be a way to wake up your marriage for some people, not for everybody.
So in both of these scenarios, there is something going on that's not positive in a marriage. And that's when people explore outside the marriage. Do you find that there are also circumstances when two people are perfectly happy and they still seek out extramarital affairs?
You know, there's studies that say people cheat even when they are having great sex, even when they're happy in their marriage. I don't think it's ever about the other person. I have to be honest. I would never, ever blame the person who you're married to, because if you're cheating, you are not looking necessarily to be with someone else. You're looking to be someone else. So, you know, it's really about you as the cheater. It's not about, with all due respect, the person that you're cheating with. And it's really not about your spouse. It's totally about the part of you that you are becoming in your affair, like the part of you that you're bringing out in the affair. And for whatever reason, you feel like you can't be that person in your marriage. That's about you. And it certainly is a springboard to talk about what's going on. But I don't think that's about the spouse.
That's super interesting. I guess like my question when you were saying some of these reasons, like why just not talk to your spouse about it? Like why say that you're feeling unfulfilled or like you're feeling like you need more in something? Why do you think people turn to cheating opposed to just having that open and honest communication?
Well, isn't that the $100 question? Especially if you're the one that's being cheated on. You know, that's a really good question because I think that if you're the one having an affair, sometimes the opportunity is just too delicious. Like a lot of people cheat. They say that 80% of people cheat because of the opportunity. And if you think that you'd never do it, you may never have had the opportunity, or it just may not have been as big of a potential. Like it's really hard to turn down that opportunity when it's in your face. And what I found is that when people come back from an affair and they're sitting in my office and they're sitting on my couch and the person that was cheated on is looking at the cheater and they want an apology, you know, they want that person to say, I can't believe you were on Ashley Madison. I can't believe you cheated with that person at work. I really want you to be remorseful and to tell me that you're really sorry. Most people are really not sorry for the affair. I mean, people don't usually come back and say, well, that really sucked for me. You know, that was terrible. But they really are sorry that they hurt their partner.
Yep.
They're sorry for the fallout. You know, they're sorry they were on the news or, you know, whatever happened. But they're usually not sorry for the affair. The affair is the fun part. Like, that's really exciting. It's exciting to be this other person, like, you know, someone that you're being flirted with, or that you get to be a different person online, or you get to feel younger or more attractive or sexy like that. There's nothing wrong with that. That's fun. It's the crash and burn that's the horrible thing. And most people don't wake up in the morning and say, I wish I could hurt my partner today. Like, most people think they have good intention.
Let's explore that for a sec, because we talk about some of the main motivators for cheating. And some of that is you can become a different person, live a different life. Mm-hmm. But there's also that kind of like going behind your partner's back. They don't know. It's really a kind of a no-no. Society looks down upon it. There's stigma attached to it. That also makes it exciting for some people as well. So if we were to, let's say in society, normalize cheating, as some cultures have done, I know in France, they really see cheating as a normal thing. And I also see that when I worked in Beijing for 2 years, it's very common for, like, one of my friends' fathers who's in their 60s to move back to China from the US and take on extramarital affairs because, like you say, Dr. Tammy, the opportunities arise because these younger women want an older man to take care of them. And two, it's a status thing. If you're an older man and if you are at a certain status, you got to take on some mistresses. And that's, you know, wives are just kind of like accepting that. So as we normalize cheating, do you think that makes cheating less prevalent?
Well, it's such a good question. Like, if you could cheat and it was allowed, would you cheat? So there's two things going on there. Like, if you were in an open relationship and your partner was like, go ahead, do whatever you want, it's not really cheating.
Right.
Yet, if it's in a situational environment where everybody's doing it and you feel pressure to do it, it's really about your own personal integrity. Like, how do you define your own integrity? How do you feel about yourself around cheating? Because cheating, I define by three things. You are having an outside relationship with someone who's not your partner. You are having some kind of sexual contact with them, whether it's online or maybe it's a sex worker or maybe it's just through a webcam or sexting, but there's some kind of sexual thing going on. And then the third part is the dishonesty.
Right.
So, you know, it really depends on how do you feel about keeping secrets or lying to your partner. Or some people feel like it's just, this is my private life. So there's a whole piece here that has to do with privacy versus secrecy. If you're in a culture that says, well, this is just my private self, it's a totally different thing than here in America where we're like, no, that's a lie.
I mean, we're in San Francisco Bay Area where polyamory and open relationships, like ethical non-monogamy, where essentially you take out that dishonesty factor, has been kind of on the rise. Like, have you seen this in other areas? Like, how is this like changed cheating?
Well, I want to be clear that even if you're in a polyamorous relationship or consensual non-monogamy, you can still cheat.
Yes, we've seen that.
You can go out for coffee with someone who's not in your poly pod and not tell anybody, and that's a form of dishonesty. So you might be cheating on everybody. Like, you know, like
you're just cheating on more people now.
Just cheating on a whole new level.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, dishonesty is dishonesty. I think what we're really looking at today is a new kind of monogamy where you can have open sexual behaviors. You can look at porn together. You can have emotional affairs. You can sleep with other people. However you define your monogamy or your relationship or whatever you want to call it today. I mean, monogamy just means being married to one person. So you can define your open sexual behaviors or your relationship in any way you want. But once you go beyond that agreement, you have to re-up. Like, you got to redo. So I think the only thing that we can really look at as a baseline is honesty. Like, I think monogamy is a choice and you have to choose every day. And am I going to be monogamous today or not? Like, some days are much harder than others and some days suck and some days you don't do well. but you can choose. But that doesn't mean that you can't choose to be non-monogamous. You can choose to be in an open relationship. It is a choice you have to make every day. Like, you don't just choose once at the altar to be monogamous and it lasts forever. Just like you don't choose once to be non-monogamous. You have to re-up all the time. I mean, we renew our driver's license a couple times, every couple of years.
That's a good point. Also, I think things change. Like, I mean, I've talked to friends.
Totally.
This is like, currently I'm looking for a monogamous relationship because I've dated enough and I want that. But in 20 years, when I've been married to the same person, who knows what I'll feel?
Totally.
I'm not there.
Exactly. Relationships are developmental, and so is your monogamy.
The typical profile of an Ashley Madison member is someone who's married, seeking extramarital affairs. And we spoke to a guy in his 50s who's been married for 25 years about why he's using the service. Tell us about your experience on Ashley Madison so far.
Been for the most part really good. It is a way to meet people who are in similar circumstances to mine, where you're married, but there's reasons that you're not divorced. Actually, more or less met with 3 people, only one of whom I've had sex with. Actually, I've made a couple of nice friendships, and we swapped texts and emails, and it's just a way to connect with people when you have odd circumstances, at least in my world.
You are currently separated now, but while you started on Ashley Madison, you were still married. Why kind of go to Ashley Madison opposed to being separated?
Both kind of were pretty close in the time frame. The fact is that because I'm separated but still married, it's not really easy to go out and date or anything under that scenario. So for me, they've kind of gone hand in hand.
So once your marriage dissolves, do you think you would move off of Ashley Madison and go on to like a more mainstream dating site?
Probably, if and when. I might. Actually, what surprised me most about Ashley Madison, I will say, is that from my experience, just a lot of people trying to figure out where they're at in life. I mean, we're just alone and in circumstances that don't make normal dating easy, and are just looking to connect with another person. And Ashley Madison is a unique platform for doing that.
And I think there's an added layer to this in your introduction, your background. It says that your wife isn't interested in ending the marriage. So it sounds like you two are still kind of figuring out your own marriage on top of, you having affairs on Ashley Madison.
I mean, I'm very clear that I thought, actually, if I took it slow and took my time and, let her get used to the idea of divorcing, that she would come around. But she's just threatened to make the experience just horrible for my kids and me. And with that said, I'm not willing to spend all the moments of my life alone either.
And you're currently in a relationship with someone you met off of Ashley Madison who is married but has no plans of getting a divorce. How is that relationship working out?
Actually, dating, whatever you could call it, I guess it's dating for 8 months, maybe, something like that. 9 months, and then we text a lot. We get together, several times a month, and it's going really well, I think, for both of us. I mean, there's the odd question that always lies out there. If we both got divorced, would we actually, still want to spend time together? Or was it more convenient because of Ashley Madison? And I actually don't know how to answer that question.
Got it. And you mentioned that there were a lot of people you met up with that you didn't have sex with, and you just kind of met for companionship. I could definitely see that being actually a draw there too, if people, like you mentioned, are kind of in the same situations that with an unfulfilling marriage or whatever it may be. Can you kind of describe some of those situations a little more?
Sure. So one of them is a woman who's maybe, I would say she's 10 years younger than I am and has a couple of young kids at home. Again, she's very described it as a, sexless, touchless marriage. But on the other hand, it's not as though she fights with her husband. They make really good roommates is how she's described it. And they have 2 young kids. And so there's the financial incentive of staying married. There's the child rearing together incentive for her. But she's just so lonely. We've just sort of our stories about how we got here, and text and talks every once in a while. But I don't think at this point she's at all interested in anything physical. She just really needs someone, that she can talk about this with. Because
right. It's almost like a support group because you're all on this platform for similar reasons. So it's almost like you have that empathy built in already.
Right.
Have you ever met someone from Ashley Madison who was perfectly happy in their marriage?
I have not. I mean, you kind of read that in some profiles and you get the sense that for some people, it really is just about, they're just looking for more physical connection with people and their marriage is just great. I mean, you certainly see that in profile. I guess that's not what I'm interested interested in. To be honest, if I really just wanted to go find a whole bunch of sex, I mean, there's bars. I mean,
Yeah.
there's ways to
There's Tinder for that.
Right. Like you kind of want to, or you want to seek out someone that has a similar experience, it sounds like.
Very much so. And I also would say that any relationship I've ever been in, it always begins with, let's be friends first and then talk about the other thing. I have no interest in just random, mindless, sex. Maybe once or twice. I want to meet someone. I want to have a connection. And then if it becomes physical, that's not where things start in my life.
Do you still believe in marriage?
That's a tough one. And actually, I've wondered that. Certainly not right now. I'm pretty angry and bitter about that. There's something wrong with marriage if you go years upon years without ever being intimate. And when you want to talk about it, it gets nowhere. And I'm just totally fed up and tired of that part. Would I ever think of marriage again? Maybe. First, I have to go over this one.
Yeah, right. First things first. Speaking of profiles, what do people tend to put in their profiles? Let's start with yours. What are the important points that you put in your profile?
Yep. So in terms of mine, I thought a lot about it. And I was very clear that I am separated, that if and when I become friends with someone, I'd be happy to share sort of the whole story. It's not as though I feel like I have anything to hide, but on the other hand, so on Ashley Madison, in my profile, I talked really a lot about that idea of friends before lovers. I talked about, there's a story of how we get here. I share a little bit of my story, kind of a hint so that maybe people get the sense that it's genuine, because I think that's what a lot of people on Ashley Madison are looking for, is just a real story with a real person. And then for me, part of the playfulness is I do like to write like sappy romantic poetry. And so and I like to give long back rubs. And so I talk about, kind of that part of it too.
Before we get into this episode, a quick word from our sponsors that make it possible. Are you out there in the dating world searching for that long-term, forever kind of connection? Whether you're riding solo or in a fresh relationship, I've got the perfect podcast just for you. It's none other than Sexology, hosted by the amazing Dr. Nazanin Moali, a psychologist and certified sex therapist. On Sexology, Dr. Moali deep dives into everything about sexual health and relationships, giving you profound insights about the mysteries of love and intimacy. From unraveling emotional bonds to tackling sexual hurdles and boosting your sexual well-being, there's no podcast quite like Sexology. One of my recent favorite episodes was No Question Off Limits, a sex educator tells all. My mind was truly blown. But wherever you start, each episode is jam-packed with incredible strategies and eye-opening insights. And don't forget to catch up on some of the past episodes, such as what it means to be bad in bed, what exactly happens at a sex club, and how to become an expert in sexting. No matter where you start, this podcast will inspire you to view sex and intimacy in a whole new light, guiding you through your relationship journey with confidence. Tune in every Tuesday on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast fix.
So for anyone who's never been on Ashley Madison, what is a typical profile look like? What are the standard questions? I'm thinking for any other dating site, it would be your age, your height, your occupation, a little bio about yourself, and also what you're looking for. Relationship, just a hookup, you're looking for a long-term monogamous marriage, whatever that may be. What does a typical profile look like?
So it's a lot of the same types of things. So it's certainly age, and it's weight, actually, height.
Weight.
And then there's sort of what type of connection are you looking for? So like, male to male, male to female, doesn't matter. Those types of questions are on there. A bunch of boxes you check in terms of, are you interested in one night stands or fulfilling fantasies, or, I think skinny dipping is one. They're just, some of them are playful and some of them are kind of real serious guides in terms of where you're going. And then there's a section where you tell someone about yourself. I would say 70% of the people don't even bother to fill that out. When you look at
just like on other dating sites too.
Basically, and a vast majority of people don't put pictures, but some do. And then there's a private key exchange. So if you really want to exchange with pictures, most people have some pictures they'll only release to you if they, get some reason to trust you. So you swap a couple of messages, and then you say, hey, do you want to share pictures, standing on a mountainside hiking, or you can send a picture of you naked. I mean, at that point,
Have you ever come across someone you know?
No, I have not.
Okay, that's probably a good thing. That would be very awkward. And
Yeah.
all the profile pictures are blurred out.
Well, not all of them. I mean, you can put a non-blurred out one, but I would say 90+% of them are blurred out. Yes. There's also a section which I find very interesting for single people on Ashley Madison. I think are your only options on there. So they're not like a separated box. I think they should have one.
It's not like in a relationship either. It's like married.
They're on there looking for, basically Mr. Right, which I always find that wouldn't be the first place I think of going to look.
No. And have you chatted with someone who's single?
Yeah, actually I have, but just, just a couple of times. And it was just, I don't know if they knew what they were looking for. The person was kind of confused, I think. And then there clearly are some of the single people are looking for, sugar baby type arrangements as well. That's also pretty clear from some. I'm in my 50s and I'm getting messaged by people, who are 22.
Oh.
And it's like, no, thank you. But they're not super interested in a long-term relationship. And that's not who I'd want a long-term relationship with anyway.
That probably happens on Tinder too.
Yeah, I'm sure. It happens on every dating site. I mean, it happens on Craigslist.
Right.
So,
Not anymore. Misconnections is gone.
So what do you think is your ultimate goal here? What do you want to get out of this Ashley Madison experience?
I'd been in a marriage. I hadn't had intimacy in a very long time. I was separating and I thought, I'm tired of being alone. And I had that brief affair and it was like, oh, wow. This is what actually being with a human being who cares about you is like. It's kind of sad, but it was on my birthday. I'm sitting there thinking, I'm just going to fill out my profile.
Yeah.
That's what I did on my birthday evening last year was fill out my profile. And then I sat another week before I even thought about it. And I might go send a message. I filled out my profile. So it was like one tiny toe in the water at a time. And then I sent a couple of messages and got responses. And a couple of people thought my writing was charming, which made me feel good. And so my ultimate goal, I don't know. Right now, it's to be connected to someone,
to feel that human connection.
Yeah, just to feel connected, to have a friend, but a friend where touch is part of the story.
Out of curiosity, who in your life knows that you're currently using Ashley Madison?
No one.
No one. Okay.
I mean, the friends I've met on Ashley Madison. That's it.
Other than Ashley Madison herself. What is the best case scenario for you? I'm thinking of a few possible options. Let's say your current wife comes to you and says, I'm willing to go to therapy. I'm willing to change and become a new me. So our relationship is renewed. Or she grants you this divorce and then you can go on and find someone else who has a stronger connection.
Yep. So she's done the first thing.
Oh, okay.
I mean, she come back repeatedly and said, we should just go back to counseling. I am so done with that relationship that's not an option. She wants it to be, and it's not an option for me. I'm just done with that. And so either I'm just going to move ahead with the divorce or I'll stay separated a while longer and then I'll move ahead with the divorce. And then, yes, I'll find a connection with someone else. Will I do it on Madison? I don't know. But it sure has been a really nice part of helping me sort of come to terms with where I'm at in life right now, I must say. So, but I also think I sort of used Ashley Madison on my term. I took, like I said, one toe at a time in the water, and I thought about what I want, what type of person I want to meet. I'm not messaging, dozens upon dozens of people. I've been really selective in the people I've connected with. And it's only, like I said, it's only been a handful of people that I've really had any ongoing connection. But it's been a really nice part of just finding peace in my world.
So then we spoke to this woman who is married and she's having a secret affair with someone she met off of Ashley Madison. And we were curious to know, what is the expected outcome? Tell us about why you joined Ashley Madison in the first place.
Ashley Madison was a site for married people and I was a married woman. So it made sense to reach out to people in the same position as I'm in and need the same anonymity that I needed.
And what made you seek out a site like this?
I was lonely. I was sad. I was not getting the attention I wanted or deserved. That was easy. I wanted someone to talk dirty to. I wanted to feel sexy. I wanted to feel like a woman. I wanted to feel attractive.
You're still currently married, correct?
I was going to say I'm in a much different position in my marriage now than I was when I even started this.
How so? How has it changed?
Well, I've confronted my spouse, told him what I want, how I'm feeling. asked him to start to live life in a different way with me. So I wouldn't have done that without all of this.
And what was the result of that?
Well, right now, the result is we're waiting 6 months to see where our relationship goes.
What was going on in your relationship when you first joined Ashley Madison, and what has kind of been resolved throughout this time?
We were not speaking. We were not intimate. We were not, it was 6 years of no communication, sadness, hurt, resentment. It was just not a happy place.
How long were you guys married before this?
We've been married for 14 years.
Wow.
We've been together for 22 years.
Oh my goodness. Wow. That's a really long time.
Yeah. And I love him dearly, but he wants to live a different life than I do. I want experience. I want passion. I want adventure. I want people. He doesn't. So that's tricky.
But why not just end the marriage if he wasn't giving you what you wanted? Why go on a site like Ashley Madison?
It's about the contact in the moment. Like you're home alone, you're sad, you want someone to talk to. And I've got this beautiful phone sitting right in front of me that is giving me an opportunity to do just that. Why wouldn't I? I brought positivity into my life by doing this. I brought love, I brought passion, I brought beauty. I brought so many wonderful experiences into my life by doing this. So, and now my marriage is now having a chance to move forward, whether it's a separation or not. I am on a path of movement. I'm not stuck anymore. I'm not stagnant.
And in the 6 months of this trial period, you're currently having an affair with someone you met on Ashley Madison, correct?
Yes.
And what do you think is going to happen with this affair in the next 6 months?
Oh gosh, I have no idea. Anything could happen. But I care about this person so very much. And he's a huge part of my life and always will be, because we have grown together through this as well and shared so much. That's the thing. He's there to do the same thing I am. Someone to talk dirty to, but you also want a connection with this person as well. If you're like us, that's what we wanted from it. So that's why we bonded so easily.
And have you played around with the idea of leaving your current partner for your affair partner?
Option isn't there for me on his side. So no, I've never even, but do I fantasize about living with him? Well, all the time. Do I fantasize about a life with him? Absolutely. I'm in his house all day, every day.
So what is the game plan for the 6 months then? If you are still having this affair and you're moving your marriage forward, whether that means, like you said, to a separation or not, what is that game plan?
That is the game plan. To continue to be positive and to enjoy my life experiences, so that I keep moving towards things that are exciting and fun for me. This call alone is like making my whole day. Like, this is too cool. I would not be getting an opportunity to discuss something that you can't talk about. My best friends don't know this. My partner, my life is half and half. I'm in a la land all the time. It's a choice I'm making for myself daily. I'm just going daily. These are the choices I'm making for me now, because they're good, happy, positive choices.
And you said your partner, you guys are working through your marriage, but your partner still doesn't know about the affair.
No, we're not working through our marriage. I said we've given ourselves the time to work through our marriage. Well, there's nothing actually happening yet. This is just, I've been pushing and I'm pushing, and now I've gotten to a place where he's at least he's present in the moment.
Got it.
And I have 6 months now to talk to him a little more and to spend time with him and build a relationship. It's hard, but I don't like him. I'm upset at him. I'm hurt by him. These are not feelings that are gone. So we have to deal with them because it deserves that. My marriage deserves that. My family deserves that. So
6 months to come to peace with probably the end of your marriage, I would assume.
Possibly from my perspective, definitely. I've been working towards my feelings towards this for a long time. He hasn't. So I'm just giving him some time to listen and to see if he wants to try things differently with me, be a little wilder, a little crazier, and start living life. And then maybe I wouldn't need the attention elsewhere, because that's the truth of it.
When you went on that first date from Ashley Madison, after being married to someone for so long and knowing this person for most of your life, it sounds like, what was that first date like? What were you feeling?
Oh my gosh. In regards to my relationship, or in regards just to the experience in itself?
Just you. What were you feeling?
For me, when I met him, I got out of my car and gave him a big hug. I felt like I'd known him my entire life, and he sat in the car with me and we sat for hours, and he kept asking to kiss me and I refused to kiss him. He had a really incredible masculine way about him that is what I needed. It's what I wanted. It was good. And we just sat in the car and talked that was our first date. And the next time I met him in a hotel room.
Had you had an affair before joining Ashley Madison?
No.
So this is your
No,
first time
Yeah.
going outside of your marriage and meeting other men.
Yes.
Were you scared?
No, I've said it and a lot of women saying it. I hit 40 and I started looking at my life thinking, okay, next 20, next 40, what am I doing? 40 is a long time. I've done a lot in 40 years. I can do a hell of a lot more in the next 40. Living this 9-to-5 life and it's just every day you do the same thing. I don't believe in that.
How old were you when you met your husband?
I was 19 years old.
Oh, wow. So you basically have been together your entire lives.
And I guess that history is also what's keeping that glue together. You have this sort of
100%.
history and foundation. It's hard to let that person go, even though you may not want to be romantically involved with them anymore. So if and when your marriage ends, do you think you would come off of Ashley Madison and maybe try a mainstream dating site?
Absolutely, yes. Yeah, I mean, I think I've met a lot of great guys on Ashley Madison. Like, a lot of great guys that are willing to just give you some attention, and they don't even want much from you. They just want to like see your boobs or whatever. But they want to because they love those boob shots. They'll still ask for them. I like that because I don't mind that. It's pushed me out of my comfort zone too. I am attractive. I want to be seen.
Tell us about some of the guys that you've met. What are kind of been their stories?
I've actually met a lot of single guys on there, which is kind of weird. There's a lot of single guys looking for married women.
Why do you think that's the case?
They don't have to commit to anything they think.
Have you gone on dates with the single men or mostly other married men?
I've only seen one man in person. Talked to lots of guys online, but I've only met one in person.
Got it. And that's the one that you're having the affair with now.
Correct. Yeah.
What do you fantasize about on a daily basis now? What do you find yourself just dozing off and kind of thinking about?
I'd like this is ultimate for me, to have my partner be someone comfortable in being open with me. Like, I would love to stay married to my husband, but to explore other people. And that's just not understood by society as something that's okay. So I fantasize about being with a lot of people on a daily basis.
Oh, so for you, best case scenario is you stay married to your current husband, but then you have an open marriage.
I wouldn't want to consider it open, but yes, because I'd want him to be a part of it. But if he doesn't want to be, that's his choice.
Got it. And do you have children?
Yes, I have 2 boys.
So what is stopping you from pursuing this ultimate dream? Is it the societal pressures and stigmas attached to it?
I think I'm quite involved in this world of adultery, right? I think we should see society's idea of marriage. We're changing. Things aren't the way they used to be. We don't live the way we used to. We can do things differently. And I do think that more marriages can actually and will start to lean towards an open concept. I do. I think getting married to someone who you want to have kids with and build a family with can be different than the person that you want to fuck every week. It's different than the person you want to go out dancing with.
Yep.
Someone who you want to go play tennis with. Like, there's a million people out there who do different things. And why do we have to be limited? Why can't we have it all?
Is your husband open to the idea of having an open marriage?
Not at the moment, I don't think. But we haven't discussed it again.
And what do you think his concerns are?
He's not a chatty man, so I have to pull teeth to get whatever is in him out. He's a very sweet, he's a very, very kind, very gentle man. And if I can make him comfortable with me and these choices, great. If not, I'm inevitably headed towards a certain path in life. Like, it will include other people. So whether he knows about it or not is going to be up to whether he can handle it or not.
Right.
Is he aware of you being on Ashley Madison?
No.
How would he react if he did find out?
Oh my God, he'd be devastated. He'd be totally heartbroken. He'd be very upset. And that's the shitty thing about this, is to make myself happy, to feel what I'm feeling, to feel alive again, so, is devastating to someone else. That's not fair.
Do you think about that often? Like, how?
Of course, all the time.
How do you balance the two?
It's the feelings that I get. There's certain connections that you make with people that bring out your best. And that for me is worth everything. It's worth everything. I don't think there's anything else worth achieving in life than that feeling right there. It's hard.
The first time you slept with someone other than your husband, tell us about that experience. What was going through your mind?
I couldn't believe, I was like, am I really doing this? Am I really doing this? Oh my God, I'm doing this. I'm doing this. Oh my God, this is happening, is what went through my head. I went to a hotel room to see a man. We talked dirty to each other. So I knew what I was walking into. And he's not just, we don't just have sex. He gives me freedom. He gives me a space to let loose and be free and do things I could never do with anybody else. I was happy to ride that train.
Literally and figuratively. What is some advice you would give to someone who may be in a similar married situation as you? Someone who's been with their partner for most of their life. They've known each other since they were basically kids, and now they're feeling lonely in their marriage. What would you advise them to do?
You have to know what you want. Is it just someone to talk to? Is it someone to have sex with? You have to know what you want. When you're going into these relationships, you have to be so careful. You can easily be misled by people wanting to, take things from you or whatever, right? Not everybody's good. So you have to go in, know what you want, be smart, and I would say take the chance.
People getting married off of Ashley Madison? Yes, it is possible. We spoke to a couple who had met each other on Ashley Madison, ended up leaving their ex-partners and marrying each other. Here's how they're using the site. Tell us, what were your motivations for joining Ashley Madison in the first place?
Well, in the first place, we were both, I'm going to speak for myself. I was in a very challenging marriage, and it was sexless. It was not a good marriage whatsoever. I was talking to a friend of mine, a platonic female friend, who I told her this situation about my marriage, and she said, you need to find yourself a girlfriend. I thought about it for a week or two, and I thought, she's absolutely right. So that's when I learned about Ashley Madison and decided to be a member.
So for me, way back in the day, I was married, and my ex-husband I found that he was on Ashley Madison.
Oh, wait, how did you find that out?
Well, we shared a computer.
Oh.
The back in the days of the old desktops. And I was on, I don't remember why, but on there, and found that there was this link to, or, that was in the history. I don't think I was snooping, but it was just like, what's this? So I clicked on it, and I remember him talking about it because he was a huge Howard Stern listener.
Uh-huh.
And they were advertising on Howard Stern. And so I remember this is the dating site. Like, what are you doing on that? Oh, I'm just checking it out. I'm like, aha. At this point in time, our marriage was largely sexless. And I'm like, well, what are you on a dating site for? Like, I'm married. So, he wasn't just checking it out. I'm not that dumb.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, oh, maybe I can get some action myself on here.
So did you tell him that you were joining too, or did you just do it?
Oh, no.
How long were you using the site before you met each other?
I think it was about 2 years before.
Oh, so quite a while.
I've had two relationships in that time, and they were very good relationships for me. They really gave me some confidence that I was lacking going into that, and I think confidence was lacking because of the state of my marriage.
I was on only for a few weeks, I think.
Oh, you were fresh.
Well, sorry, that was the second time, right? Like the first time I was on for, I don't remember how long, and met somebody and had an affair with them for 3-4 years and was off of it for a long time. At the end of my previous marriage, I got back on. Then we met pretty quickly.
So you two are married now. What made you decide to leave your partners at the time and to marry each other?
Well, we were both in very challenging situations. We were both heading towards separation. And really, it was just serendipitous that we happened to meet each other at that time in our lives when we were going our own separate ways in our marriages. So it wasn't because of each other that we separated from our spouses, but, they were just bad relationships. It just so happened the timing worked out really well.
Why not end the relationship and then seek out a new partner? Why did you kind of like decide to pursue finding a new partner at the same time?
Well, I wasn't looking for a new partner as a life partner. I was looking for someone to satisfy my sexual needs in a sexless marriage. And so I wasn't looking for anyone permanently. It was really just an affair I was looking for. It just happened that, we found each other and things clicked beyond what a normal affair would. And, we're happily ever after sort of thing.
I'm just curious, at what point does an affair turn into a relationship? Do you remember that moment when you thought, actually, this is more than just an affair?
I do remember the moment. It was actually very quick, chatting probably for 3 weeks before we even met. And then 6 weeks after that, we were thinking this was something really serious. And why was that? I think it was just a combination of everything. We had so much in common. We were coming from the similar backgrounds. We had similar kids, ages, and similar lifestyles. And we just fell in love. It was something that was beyond what a normal sexual affair was all about. It was an emotional affair at that point.
And how did you evolve your current relationship into an open marriage and you're both back on Ashley Madison?
So hours and hours and hours of discussion and open communication about what we both wanted and what we both didn't want, which was to cheat on each other. So in our capacity, in our minds, the cheating piece is to have an emotional affair with somebody. So, he and I have that together, and we don't have any room for that for anybody else. And so that would be the cheating piece, and also the secrets and hiding that kind of stuff. The physical piece isn't for us cheating because it's just a physical connection.
We are not believers in monogamy in the traditional sense. Somebody coined it where you're committed to your life partner, but you have fun relationships on the side. The idea of marrying somebody and having one sexual partner for the rest of your life is not the way we were built and not the way we were wired. That can quite easily lead to boredom and then affairs after that. So we didn't want to get into that cycle of marriage, boredom, affair, marriage, boredom, affair. So we said off the bat, well, let's explore other people and keep things interesting. And we can come home with stories, and that spices up our sex life.
What is preventing the same thing happening again with your previous relationships where you could possibly find someone you have an emotional connection with and then end up with them?
That's another great question. It really is something that we've talked about a lot. And that's why I think we have full disclosure in our relationship. She knows what's going on in my fun relationships, and I know what's going on in hers. But we're also going into these relationships knowing that we're not looking for a life partner. We're looking to enjoy the time we spend with these other people, and that's it. It's a different mindset because we are so satisfied at home, and we weren't before.
Do you guys ever fear that you're going to fall into a sexless marriage with each other, or is that a non-issue?
It's certainly something that we guard against. Like, when we're busy, we have 3 adult children, some who are still partly at home, partly not. And it's a little hard to get some alone time. So, we're very cautious about that and always want to make sure that we connect with each other because that's the most important piece. Like I will put off meetings if I don't feel like he and I are in a good place.
Like and meetings with other.
Like we haven't been physical with each other or, just like things aren't kosher at home. I'll postpone a meeting with somebody that I'm seeing because I don't want to upset the apple cart at home.
Got it. So you always prioritize your own relationship over these additional ones on Ashley Madison.
We always hear that relationships that are born out of affairs tend to be rather fragile in the beginning because there is that PTSD element where you're kind of like, I don't know if I'm getting the itch to cheat again, or I'm identifying behaviors in my partner that I could see as cheating. What were some of those initial humps that you two had to get over, and how were you able to get over those?
Yeah, so he was amazing because I had more of those fears than he did. And he was just always open with me, and I still to this day thank him for just taking that time to be like, oh, I've got this meeting. Yes, it's a true meeting, and no, it's not, not with anybody else, and blah, blah, blah. And so I didn't have any reason not to trust him. And that's the one thing that we wanted to guard against as well for the open piece, because that saying, once a cheater, always a cheater. We didn't want to be that person. And yet we both identified within ourselves that could possibly be a thing, that, the physical piece was big. I spent, from 19 to 35 with my ex-husband, who really didn't like sex. Wow. And so I knew that there was more stuff I wanted to do out there. Right. And same with him, right? So he, had a significant chunk of his life in a sexless marriage, and he wanted to experience more.
But why Ashley Madison? Like, why use this site opposed to Tinder or any other dating app out there now that you guys are publicly open?
Again, I think it's because of we've got stuff to lose kind of thing. And also the people on the other sites could be people we actually know.
So just to clarify here, we are not actually publicly open. We're only open. No one knows we're open other than we.
Got it.
We do. So so we don't want this to be common knowledge, because it's a stigmatized relationship.
Right. Yeah.
And adult children, they're not far enough ahead in their life experiences to understand that kind of stuff.
Yep.
Right.
Makes total sense.
Just wrap up this conversation. What I'm learning from you two is that what you really did was establish baseline what cheating is. And then you said, okay, anything below that is not cheating. So you kind of like redefined that word cheating. So whatever you're doing now on Ashley Madison isn't actually considered cheating in your relationship.
Right.
So like I said before, the typical Ashley Madison member is a married person seeking extramarital affairs. But did you know single people also use the site? And we spoke to one woman who is just that. She is single and strictly using Ashley Madison for dating. So tell us about why you joined Ashley Madison in the first place.
To be honest, joining it for me, I don't have to worry about a man getting attached to me, because I'm a very independent woman. I like to take care of myself, and I like to have my freedom.
So how did you find out about the site in the first place?
When you Google dating sites, this is one of the sites that pulled up.
And are you currently on any of the other dating sites like Tinder or Bumble?
No, I'm not.
Ah.
So are you exclusively on Ashley Madison?
Yes, ma'am.
And are you in any sort of relationships with anybody you've met on Ashley Madison?
No, not currently. I am not.
Got it.
And what are you ultimately looking for?
Companionship and friendship.
Got it. And what has been like your relationship history up until then? Like, what's kind of made you decide that you want to do this more for your purely physical and less of an emotional connection?
I have been single for like 7 years, and I've dated single men. I've dated married men. Maybe the married men are just able to give more attention.
Interesting.
They're able to give more attention. Can you explain that a little bit more?
When you spend time with them, when you're with them, you're going to get 100% of their attention of the time, because you're not with them all the time.
Oh, so you're kind of like the novelty for them. So when they're with you, every minute counts.
Yes.
Got it. You said that you've been single for the last 7 years. Before then, were you in relationships?
Yes, I was married.
Got it.
For how long?
6 years.
And do you want to get married again?
No, I don't.
Oh, why is that? No, I don't.
I'm so open-minded. I mean, when you love somebody or when you want to be with somebody, I'm at the point now that you can do that for more than one person.
So you don't believe in monogamy?
Right.
Are you looking for long-term, non-monogamous relationships, or are you looking for more like casual encounters?
I would like long-term built upon friendship. But if there's not going to be a friendship, then maybe just a hookup.
These married men on Ashley Madison, how have they reacted to you being single?
Some have been surprised. I've had quite a few people question me too, to be honest. They think that if I get their information and want to talk to them, I'm going to direct them to somewhere else to have them pay me money.
Like I was thinking scammers. Yeah.
I was thinking even their wives could be using you to catch them in the act. That's where my head went.
I was thinking scamming for money.
But they're all scams. So then they probably ask for some sort of justification, like, you're single, why are you on Ashley Madison? What's sort of your standard answer to them?
Yes, I get asked that quite a lot. And I tell them, I like my freedom. I like to be able to go out, maybe have dinner, hook up, have a good time. And then after that, not worry about any attachments or them to try to be with me. They have their own life and I have my own life.
Got it. And do you have children?
Yes, I do.
Now, to be fair, just because a man is married doesn't mean that he won't get attached. We've also interviewed some people who've gotten married off of Ashley Madison. So do you actually vet them for that? If you feel like they're looking for something more serious, do you end your conversations with them?
Yes, because it needs to be talked about. Yeah. I tell them that this is not what I'm looking for. Like, if this is what you're wanting to do, then you need to go, somewhere else, because I'm not there in my life. So in the very beginning, I tell them that, yes, I'm not looking for anything serious. This is just, we're going to meet and become friends.
Uh-huh.
And you say friends a lot. Are you looking more for the companionship or for the sex, or both?
I'm going to say both, but to be honest, the companionship is a little bit more.
How long have you been on Ashley Madison?
I've only been on it for about 3 months.
Okay, only 3 months.
And how long have you been separated or divorced from your husband?
9 years.
Okay, so a decent amount of time.
So do you think this is sort of like the lifestyle you want to sustain for a long time, or is this something that you're just trying out short term?
If I'm okay with it and if I'm meeting people and there's not any problems, then I'm going to continue it.
Mm-hmm. Do people in your life know that you're on Ashley Madison?
No, nobody
knows.
Why hide it from them, since you're not like hiding it from a spouse or anything?
No. I like to try to hide it from my son.
Got it.
I wouldn't want my son to know about it.
Got it. So do you share it with friends, or no, because of your son?
I've only shared it with one friend.
Got it. If you were on like Tinder, for example, would you also hide that because of your son, or would you be more open to sharing that?
I would be more open.
Have you ever encountered someone maybe like a neighbor or a former coworker?
No, not yet. I mean, I say not yet, but no, I haven't.
Got it. What do you like the best about the site?
With Ashley Madison, I feel as though it's like there's an understanding. You already go there knowing exactly what it is, what lines are going to be crossed and what lines are not going to be.
What is it like being the other woman? What is that feeling like?
I try not to think about it, to be honest. I'm not trying to jeopardize. I'm not even trying to get in that level. I'm just trying to maybe talk to somebody, maybe have some sex, and that'll be it. It's like the less that I know about them and their life, then I don't have to think about it.
That sounds very transactional. Yeah. Get in, get out.
Yeah.
Also kind of empowering.
Yeah. Did you have any affairs when you were married, or is this kind of a first time thing post-divorce?
No. Also, I have been in the swinger lifestyle, so that made me more open-minded to the sexual part of doing this with married men.
Do you remember a pivotal moment or something may have happened for you to think, you know what, I'm going to date married men? What do you remember that moment?
Kind of. Basically what it is, you get that attraction. And I guess it's being selfish, but it's like, I feel it and I know he's feeling it. I mean, you just act upon it without thinking about it.
And what is it like for married men to have an affair with a single woman? Have they disclosed any of that to you? Like, what is the benefit they're getting?
I mean, they're just getting sex. They're not getting their needs met at home.
Mm-hmm. Is that what you commonly hear? Is that they're in sexless marriages? They're at a point where they don't want to be with their wives all the time, and that's why they're going on dates with you?
Yeah, that's about 95% of what I hear.
What's the other 5%?
Yeah.
Okay, so the 95% is about the sex. The 5% is they just want somebody to talk to.
Oh, yeah. The companionship, the connection.
Yeah.
Do you think that they're also in sexless marriages, that other 5%?
Yes.
So it's like 100% sexless marriages.
They're all in sexless marriages.
At least from the people you've talked to.
That's a common denominator. I would assume that at some point you probably turn into almost like a therapist for some of them too. Have you found that to be true?
Yeah, I try. I mean, I'll listen to them. I don't want to get involved, but I mean, if they're going to talk to me, I'm going to listen.
Right.
Yeah. Where do you usually meet for your rendezvous?
I usually go like to a coffee shop, Starbucks. That's just the first meeting. And then after the second meeting, then we'll go to a hotel.
Okay, usually at a hotel then. Do you ever invite them over to your home?
No, I don't like people knowing where I live.
And do you ever tell them your real name?
Once in a blue moon, but not. No, I really don't. I don't like people knowing where I work at, where I live, or my real name.
Got it.
It's almost like the opposite of dating, where you have that date talk on a first date. You know, you want to get to know everything about that person. But for you, it's like, no.
Nothing.
Nothing. I don't want to know anything. Let's get to the good stuff. Let's get to the sex. It's only been 3 months, but what's been one of the most memorable experiences you've had from the site?
I get a lot of messages. I get a lot of mail, maybe just like all the compliments that they give me. And I don't want to say that I don't enjoy it, but sometimes it's kind of overwhelming. But that's just one of the memorable experiences because I'm getting a lot of messages.
Have you ever tried like a Match.com or eHarmony before?
Oh my God, years ago.
Okay.
Years ago.
And wasn't that kind of your experience too? Just being bombarded with messages?
Yes, it was.
Okay, so this is just across the board.
Is it different on Ashley Madison, or is it similar to that?
It's different. Ashley Madison is more sexual.
Yeah, that's what I was going to guess. I wanted to.
Right, because it's more acceptable to have a more aggressive first message. Yeah. Is there a particular fantasy that you're hoping to fulfill through being a member of Ashley Madison?
I want the men to be enjoying themselves, to have a good time, and to make them happy when they're with me. You know, that's all I want.
Single people out there who may be curious about joining the site, if you were to give them some advice on how to start and things to watch out for, what would you say to them?
I think you have to be mature about it, to know what you're getting yourself into, because there might be a bad situation. It can turn around and be fun. You can have a good time and meet a lot of men that want to spend time with you, you know?
So with all those stories, all those perspectives, we've heard the whole spectrum of why people cheat, why people use Ashley Madison, what they're hoping to get out of it. What are some of our takeaways, Julie?
There's so much. I mean, I think this was enlightening. I think I always thought of it like cheating, the people that would go to a site that's dedicated to cheating. I would always think there was like a sex first mentality, but I was actually very surprised to hear that a lot of it was very emotional. Obviously, people were looking for sex, but I think it was filling that emotional void. Like we heard a few people that just were in sexless marriages for years, or the one woman where her husband basically just didn't even look at her and acknowledge her. Even the single member just like saying like she really just wanted attention from different men and just like really like dating married men because they gave her their full attention. So I feel like there was a lot of just personal fulfillment that happened, not just from sex, but from like the whole experience and what they were getting from it.
There's no one profile.
No.
You kind of think of like back in the day when cheating was so looked down upon, you think of this profile, slimy person who's, you know, looking to just have sex and then go back to their wives and like act like nothing happened. But that's not the case. There's so many reasons for why people cheat, but kind of the common denominator seems to be just overall dissatisfaction in their marriages, in their relationships. The loneliness while you're in a relationship just boggles my mind. I've been there. It's the worst place to be. It's the loneliest you'll ever feel. So I think for a lot of these people, it's not just about sex. It's about companionship. And it's about someone who understands what they're going through.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of our listeners are single. A lot of the people we spoke with have been married for years. A lot of them met their significant others at like 19, 20 years old, like very young in their life. And I think sometimes, I know I felt this before, as a single person in your 30s, you're just like, why hasn't it happened for me yet? Like all this stuff. But I think this is a really good perspective that the grass is always greener too. Yeah. And just because like you feel like you need a relationship to be happy, that's not going to always make you happy. You need to get happy on your own.
And I also feel like with cheating, we are very quick to judge other people for cheating.
Yeah.
Oh, how could he do that to her? How could she do that to her husband? But we're not meant to be monogamous. I do agree with Dr. Tammy. I don't think we're innately monogamous people. So if we are in a monogamous relationship and we have that temptation to cheat, I think the first thing we need to do is observe what is happening. Why do I have these temptations
Am I unhappy in my relationship, or am I unhappy with myself? Am I going through something, or are there changes in my life that I need to tackle first before I act upon something that could hurt someone else in my life, someone I care deeply in my life? And the second takeaway I have is you really have to be on the same page with what cheating is. You and your partner, you can't just expect them to know what you think is cheating because you haven't communicated that. I remember my ex-boyfriend and he really didn't think being on a dating app and actively speaking to women was cheating. He thought it was purely platonic and it was fun to get attention from women. To me, it really hurt me because I felt like in my eyes, that was cheating. So two people have to get on the same page at the very beginning of a relationship. And I think the very third takeaway I have is relationships are constantly evolving and there's no black and white. It's not like if I cheat on my husband, that marriage is over.
Right.
Sometimes we do things to test the relationship in our own mind, change it to have it evolve and see what works for us. And every configuration is different. Everybody's relationship is different. So you just have to find out what works best for you. But you have to have that kind of baseline integrity. Like, how do I push the boundaries without hurting someone?
I think we asked a couple people too of like, why didn't you just leave? Like, why cheat? And I think that was the one takeaway for me is like easy as like a single person that doesn't have any dependence that it's like, oh yeah, just leave.
Yeah,
and, like,
just get out of there.
Financially stable, all of that. But like some people have children, they have financial obligations. Like who knows what could be some of the reasons. But it's not just all about them and what's best for them. Like they're thinking of a greater good too.
Right.
And I think there was a comment that was made too. It's like, yeah, it's really hard to find someone that does check all the boxes. Like is a good roommate, is a good father or mother, like sexual and someone that like shows you affection. So like I can't really judge because I haven't been with someone for 20 years. Like I don't know what that's going to be like because I'm not there yet. So I think to your point about like it's easy to judge people. It's like when we heard these stories of just going home and feeling so lonely, it's like that's not what you would stereotypically think of when you think of cheating, the person that would cheat.
Right. And just for the record, I do not promote cheating. I don't think it's best for anybody's relationship, but I do believe that you have to be in a mindset that whoever you find outside of your relationship is not necessarily better than your partner. Maybe they add to your relationship. And that's when you open up your relationship or marriage, and that's not cheating. I'm cheating because I think there's someone better out there for me. That's probably the most dangerous place to be. Because like you said, the grass may not be greener. You can't look for someone else to save your relationship. But if you're thinking this is a way to add flavor into my relationship and it makes me love my partner more, then the polyamorous or open relationship route is what you should think about exploring.
Well, I think that's really good to bring up too, is we've actually had this discussion outside of Ashley Madison, but it just feels like this day and age, there's less cheating going on of our generation. And I think a lot of the people we spoke to were a generation above us. And I feel like in our day and age, people are just more gun shy to commit in the first place, or there's this whole like movement of like ethical non-monogamy. And I think that whole piece is like this notion that people aren't necessarily meant to be monogamous, but half the problem with cheating is this like betrayal that happens. So like if we could still accept that our like primal instinct isn't necessarily to be with one person and one person isn't going to do it all for us, but we can remove that betrayal, there's a healthier side of at least that communication that's happening.
And that constant communication, constant updating is so important in a relationship. I've actually spoken to quite a few couples who are in couples counseling right now. And this is a typical scenario is one person is unhappy and has been unhappy for a long time, hasn't told the other person, building up all this resentment, and then go to therapy and it end up exploding in their face because it's that lack of communication and built up resentment. We have to keep each other updated on how we're feeling. If we're happy, if we're unhappy, keep each other updated so there are no surprises and you're not building up that resentment.
So we actually had this training at work about feedback. And I think actually this was meant obviously in a business context, but I think it really applies to relationships. It was like, you have to do it in a timely manner. If you wait
2 months after something happened, people, one, just don't necessarily, it's not top of mind anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It also feels like you've been like resenting and building up and like harboring this information. So I think the feedback of the feedback training was to basically tell people kind of as soon as possible in a way that is kind of open and inviting. And I think that is like great advice for relationships too, because I think, again, like I don't want to judge other people because I'm not in their relationship, but I think like the more we can just communicate upfront and like keep those lines of communication open, I think that's something that like is so important in relationships that we're kind of all like trying to really grab onto because we weren't taught these skills. Then I think that could be a way that like could prevent some of this from festering and leading to something greater like cheating.
Yeah, absolutely. End of the day, you do you.
Judgment free.
Judgment free. You find out what works best for you because you know yourself the best.
Right. I think that's one thing. There's no shortage of options these days. So
that's for sure. So many different ways of doing a relationship. Cool. All right. We'll wrap this up. It's been a great conversation. Thank you to the people at Ashley Madison for finding us these members and for openly talking about their experiences. If you have your own personal experience with cheating, we love to have you as a guest on our show. As you heard from many of the guests that we had on this episode, they felt like there was no open forum to talk about this topic. And that's probably why it becomes even more stigmatized because there's like mystery built around it. If we have a more open forum, maybe there'll be less cheating and more communication. With that said, we'll wrap this up. Stay dateable. The Dateable Podcast is part of the Frolic Media Network. Find more podcasts you'll love at frolic.media/podcasts. You can follow us on Instagram at Dateable Podcast and visit dateablepodcast.com for access to all the episodes and our premium programs. Also, make sure to subscribe today if you haven't already on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcast platform so you are the first to get all the latest episodes. And most importantly, stay dateable.
Before you leave this episode, just a reminder to head over to dateablepodcast.com/programs if you want to get in on our Meeting People IRL Masterclass and see what else we have in store.